that you had to pay taxes to support the Church of England. But if you were a Presbyterian, then you had to pay more money to support your own Presbyterian church. This created a deep division and crisis within the colonial church in the 1760s and 1770s. In many places, the Baptists grew in numbers hugely and rapidly. In Chesterfield County, right across the river here, for instance, the county government persecuted Baptists. That they required that Baptists obtain a license to preach. They required that Baptists, when they were preaching, could not lock the church doors to keep the sheriff out or to keep the justices of the peace out. They passed laws requiring what the Baptist ministers could and could not preach about. And the Baptist ministers, in particular, deeply resented what they thought was an infringement on their religious liberty. So they held their church services anyway. And in many places in Virginia, including in Chesterfield County, the sheriff arrested and imprisoned the Baptist ministers. Justices of the peace, sheriff, tobacco planters, other people harassed ministers, beat them and drove them out of the church houses, harassed them in many ways, and imprisoned the ministers. In Chesterfield County, the minister in prison preached through the window of the jail to a crowd that gathered outside the courthouse. So, what does the county do? It builds a great big wall around and excludes the public from the courthouse area so that the clergyman could not preach through the windows of the local jail to the people who came to hear him. This growing religious diversity and this growing hostility toward the established formal governmental Church of England was coming to an head early in the 1770s. And if you know your history, you know that other things were happening in Virginia and in the colonies at that very same time. It is partly coincidence that all of this is happening at the same time. Because it happened at the same time, the results were unforeseeable and very extraordinary. One of the consequences of this religious diversity manifesting itself the way that it did at the time of the American Revolution is that we get the very peculiarly American theory of the separation of church and state coming into being. It is here in Virginia that idea had its first and most profound manifestation. In 1786, shortly after the end of the American Revolution, the Virginia General Assembly, meeting in a tobacco barn down here in Choctaw Cliff, passed the Act for Establishing Religious Freedom. It's usually called the Statute for Religious Freedom. That in effect said that the link between the Church of England and the government of Virginia was to be permanently broken. That no religion, no denomination, no minister was going to be part of the government anymore, and the government was no longer going to be part of the church anymore. That was a fairly revolutionary idea, and in my opinion, that was the most revolutionary thing that happened in Virginia at the time of the American Revolution. You get the separation of church and state. What does that mean? Well, it means the county courts now have to take care of the roads and the orphans and the poor people. That's the least important thing that it means. What it means is that people become freed from governmental control over something of very profound importance to their own minds and hearts. There were people who said, if you break the relationship between the government and the church, you will destroy religion. The religion, the church, needed the government to support it. In fact, I think you can say the opposite has been the case. Without the involvement or support or meddlesome interference of the government in the United States in 1786, there's been a remarkable flourishing of religious diversity and of religious opinions. The United States may probably have one of the largest church attendance rates among its population of just about any Western country. And I think it's in part because people go to church because they want to, not because they have to. They're not forced to do something they don't want. They're not forced to subscribe to beliefs that they may not find congenial. This is a profoundly and extraordinarily important thing, and it happened in Virginia at the same time as the American Revolution. I think that was an accident of timing. but it was probably a very fortuitous accident. One important event in that took place actually right here in this room. Most people don't know this, but this is an important, very first step in separating church and state from the way that they had been. In the spring of 1775, on the eve of the American Revolution, the colony of Virginia created its own little army. It needed an army to protect the frontiers from Indians. It needed an army to protect the people from rebellious slaves. And it needed an army to protect itself from the English in case the English retaliated on the Americans for opposing Parliament's policies. The Virginians created an army. And in this room, in August of 1775, the Third Virginia Convention received a petition from some Baptist ministers. I don't have the text with me, so I can't quote it exactly, but this is what they said. The Baptist minister said, "Gentlemen of the convention, you and we are different. We are separated from you by the nature of our religious beliefs. But you and we agree in resisting the tyranny of the British government. You have now formed an army. You have now appointed chaplains to preach to that army. You are going to pay those chaplains to preach to the army. But there are many members of our Baptist churches who are joining the army with you to fight for our same civil liberties. Please allow